Okay, this fly I'm going to tie, I call a gusto. Now the origins of this comes from a fly I saw tied by a guy in the NT called Chris Rainbird, very fine fly tyer. And he'd tied a very simplified version of a pink thing, which had a marabou tail and a pink collar, and that was it. And I thought, geez, what a great idea, what a wonderfully simple fly. And so based on that fly, I started tying them, and it was incredibly effective. And we had a session in an NT billabong, 100 fish day, including Saratoga. And they ate the fly with such gusto that the name sort of stuck from then on. Very simple fly. A couple of good principles involved though. Now I've tied in bead chain eyes. You can use any sort of eyes you like, but note that I've left this little gap in here. This is very important for adding a weed guard later. I'll show you the sort of weed guards I use. I'm going to wrap the body like so. The tail is going to be marabou plumes, 2 marabou plumes. Now I like the marabou plumes with fairly stiff stem here. It helps, wonderful for stopping the fly from fouling, the tail from fouling. So 2 of these, face to face, get that around the right way, there we go. Strip the fluff off. Want this tail around 2.5 times the length of the hook shank. Don't worry if it looks pretty flat out there. 2 to 2.5 times, a couple of wraps underneath, just to help keep everything straight. There we go. Then some contrasting flash, trim that stubs off there. Tie that down. Bit of contrasting flash. In this case I'll use some orange crystal flash. Sorry, not orange, olive crystal flash. There we go. Again, tied longer than the feathers. Or trimmed, I should say, trimmed longer than the feathers, and just stagger your cuts there so that the end doesn't end like a sort of paintbrush. So that's the tail in place. Next is the body. Now I use chenille for the body part. It's important to build up, I use this sparkle chenille, it's important to build up a really fat body in this fly because that body gives the fly a fat profile, but importantly it also creates a vortex as you retrieve it behind it, which really gets that marabou tail working. It's got wonderful subtle movement in the water, this fly, whether it's dead sinking, which is something that both barramundi and Saratoga in particular love, just a dead sinking fly, and when this sinks you can imagine that marabou is just going nuts. So there's the fat body. Then I'm going to tie in a collar of this palmage chenille in medium fluoro chartreuse. Nice, well wrapped. Build it up. Plenty of it. So this adds a slightly different touch of flash, but it also aids in that holding the bulky shape of the fly in the water. Fold that back. Then the next addition is a good schlappen, a good fluffy schlappen. I like to use the shorter, fat, the broader ones. There it is, wonderful schlappen. Great feather for so much fly tying. Tie that in by the point, in behind the eyes there. Fold that over. Don't want it snapping off. You can break that off. Wrap the schlappen. Wrap the schlappen like so. all the way to the back of the eyes. Don't take it forward through the eyes. No need to do that. Fluff that out. Pull it down tight, tie it off. Trim it. And finish it. I'm just going to get the needle in there and pull some of those feathers out that have been crossed over in the wrap, like so. There we are. And make sure you wide some of the marabou on the schlappen into the fly. Finish the head off. Good bed of thread there. We'll finish that. We don't need the thread anymore. Give that a bit of a singe. Clean off any excess hairs. There we go. Now, the weed guard. So I like to use 40-pound plastic coated wire. This is Superflex heat weld wire in 40 pounds. Superflex, great stuff. Like, just cut off a small piece like so. Grip it in the middle with a pair of pointy nose pliers. Bend that around the pliers into that sort of shape. Then pinch that up to a point, like so. You can see the shape of that. Simply drop that in over the eye of the hook there. Pull it down. That's the first stage. Then you can set that in place with a little bit of super glue. Just a dab will do at this stage. And the beauty of this, of course, is that the plastic coated wire bonds really well with the super glue. So that's just simply to hold it in place. If you do get some super glue in the eye of the hook, make sure you clean it out. Okay, so I'll show you how I finish that, because I've got a fly here that I prepared earlier to this stage, and the super glue is going to set on that. I'll just hang that out of the way while the super glue sets. So this is one I did earlier. Slightly different coloured fly. One thing about this fly, you can tie it in a wide range of colours. Now what I do to, marabou and schlappen, and instead of schlappen, of course, you can use the EP brushes, or you can make your own brushes, or beast brushes. There's all sorts of things that you can use there. Now what I'll do here is, you can see I'm setting the length of the weed guard. I'll trim that with the wire cutters, then just bend that over. That's to that point now. Blow that back. Now I'll put in some Solarez Flex here. Get that going. Put a big gob of that in on there. Now, to finish the head completely. Now, the beauty of this kind of weed guard is that it's replaceable while you're out fishing. It's what I like about it so much. It's not tied in. It's only glued in place. Hit it with a torch. It's only glued in place. Now this will be very strong, okay, and you can fish with this for hours and hours and hours, but it will get damaged, it will get knocked around. And the beauty of it is, once it gets too damaged, you just peel it off, let the fly dry, bend up another piece of wire, and I like carrying UV cement with me when I'm fishing, and bingo, put on a fresh weed guard. Away you go. So the fly's not finished as a fly. You can do it out there while you're fishing. And there we go. That's a gusto. That's one version. Here's the other one I tied earlier. You can tie this in a wide range of sizes and colours. Probably one of the best colours, or my favourite, is what we call a sunset colour, which is a yellow tail with a red collar. That's an incredibly effective barramundi fly, particularly in billabong water. That is it, the Gusto. Thanks for watching.